Well, hey folks, it's your old pal King Krampus. Welcome back to Total Party Skills, the only channel on YouTube that has anything positive to say about Willow on Disney Plus. Episode 4, I think it was episode 4, the most recent episode that I watched last night. The gang has to seek refuge in the abandoned castle of Nockmar so that they can get a lich out of poor young Graydon. There's some haunting, some dark magic still lingering around, twisting people's perceptions, making them make mistakes or act erratic. And overall, I'd say it's a pretty solid episode. I'm still kind of perplexed by the sheer just level of antagonism some people seem to be taking towards this show. Some of the declarations about it. This is like so vastly superior to Rings of Power and like a lot of the Star Wars media that's been put out by Lucasfilms. It's just kind of aberrant that people aren't giving it a chance, but whatever. I think a lot of it is that people are basing their opinions on a perception of what Willow was from when they were kids, but probably haven't watched it in a long ass time. As I said, the week before the show came out, I did rewatch Willow, and it's pretty like in line with the overall vibe. There's a few modernisms that come through, but it is almost 40 fucking years later, so God forbid. People talk semi-normally in it, and this thing that has not ever been established to be some like great piece of like foundational literature or anything. It's just a fun fantasy romp, and that's all it's maintaining itself as being. Willow's characterization is still very much the same Willow he was in the original, just older and more experienced. There's obvious character arcs being set up of characters kind of being a little bit iffy about him, but learning to like respect his authority and his knowledge and all that kind of stuff. The junior members of the squad have distinct learning curves that they have to get over, and they're not all perfect little princesses who already have maxed out all their stats and all that kind of stuff. Anyone who's a fan of fantasy TPRPGs. Anyone who is a fan of fantasy TPRPGs, there we go, should be interested in this show because it's a great, visual example of, how a basic quest campaign could be structured together. You have, with the villains and encounters and locations. They do some interesting things where, like in the movie, Tir Asleen was in ruins and Nockmar was the castle stronghold, and they've kind of flipped that where the show starts off at Tir Asleen and it's been rebuilt and it's pretty beautiful and inhabited and pleasant little quaint fantasy castle in a valley, very reminiscent of something you'd see out of like an establishing shot in Shrek or something. And now Nockmar is the castle that's like just a haunted ruin, abandoned, dusty, full of cobwebs. Really, my only real complaint about it so far is like some of the musical choices for the end credits. Like the newest episode, they have like some girl singing a very slow, sad version of Soundgarden's Black Hole Sun. At least it wasn't the same thing, but with Nirvana, as most of what we've been encountering. Thank God Eddie Vedder is not dead. Otherwise, we'd be hearing the same thing of, girls singing a slow, sad version of Pearl Jam songs. So, at least he's been living a more healthy lifestyle than some of his grunge brethren. So we don't have to at least put up with that. Oh well. Still, though, not as bad as the Rage Against the Machine cover at the end of Matrix 4. Small favors. Always try to look for that silver lining. Anyway, I'm still quite enjoying Willow. I find each episode is better than the previous one. The characters actually, have distinct talents that they bring to bear at different times in the show. They're not all starting off as like super badasses. They're having to work for their accomplishments. It's doing all the things that people were complaining about the more recent things that Lucasfilm has been putting out. But maybe it's because they're still also in a way doing the things that they originally intended to do with the Star Wars. They're just doing them right this time. But I guess for some people it's too little too late. They've already made their decisions. Lucasfilm must burn and they can do no good. So, I don't know. You should check it out. Don't be such a dweeb. I wouldn't go out of my way to get Disney Plus to watch it if you don't have it. But it is worth watching, and I don't know. It's reductive, but like I kind of just feel like a lot of the channels that are complaining about Willow are just being assholes for the sake of being assholes and clicks. So anyway, thanks for the click. Hit like and subscribe. Have a Merry Krampus, and stay waspinated.